Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Senators, I wish to speak to Bill C-45. One of the key themes relating to the legalization of marijuana is the desire to eradicate the black market. As Parliamentary Secretary Bill Blair put it during an interview with Global News April 8, 2018, displacing the illicit cannabis market is paramount. This is a clear and consistent message that has been shared since the beginning, and Canadians expect that whatever bill emerges from this place will do exactly that. We are expected to produce a bill that shifts users away from an illicit market. And Mr. Blair also told the Social Affairs Committee, quote, "We've brought forward what we believe is a very appropriate, strict regulatory framework that will do a much better job protecting our kids and displacing that illicit market." However, colleagues, when the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police appeared before the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee on March 29, CAC President Chief Mario Harrell stated, "Bill C-45 remains silent on the quantity of cannabis permissible indoors. At this time, in-home possession is virtually unlimited, thereby making it difficult to determine whether the cannabis is derived from a lawful or unlawful source, or whether the amount of possession is, in fact, for the purposes of trafficking. Given these issues, we recommend that a limitation on in-home possession be imposed were such cultivation to become lawful." Think of it, honourable senators. As the bill is now worded, individuals can fill every room in their house with dried cannabis, which keeps very well. This is bizarre, and we're told that this bill will drive the bad guys out of business. As I traveled through Nunavut, the issue of unlimited amounts allowed in the home was also raised as a concern in communities. Much like the arguments against allowing plants to be cultivated in the home, community members feared an increase in break-ins, warned that it would only have the opposite effect and enable the illicit market to flourish. My home region of Nunavut is currently proposing only to allow ordering via online or telephone. The absence of stores and the current lack of a limit of allowed dried cannabis or its equivalent in the home would only serve as a lure, a strong attraction for those waiting for their orders to come in. In reality, these homes with unlimited quantities of dried cannabis will likely also be the only potential source of marijuana for those without access to internet, a telephone, or a credit card. So the underground economy will be given a golden opportunity to thrive if we continue to allow unlimited quantities of marijuana in homes. Now, in Clyde River, remote Clyde River, Councillor Gordon Kautak warned that many in a hamlet where 68% of the population is on social assistance would still likely use dealers, firstly in an effort to avoid paying the sales tax. He continued to warn that dealers will supply their own stronger marijuana with THC levels far exceeding government-regulated plants, and he also warned that even in Clyde River, suppliers from the south will undercut government sale prices by supplying in volume and even forgiving shipping costs for volume purchases. Senators, with no limits to the amount allowed to be stored in the home, we are enabling dealers to continue to stockpile marijuana for those who cannot, for whatever reason, will not access it through legal channels. I firmly believe that in order to achieve the stated purpose of this bill, to eliminate the illicit market, we need to follow the advice and expertise offered by the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. Deputy Chief Constable Mike Serra, co-chair of the Chiefs Drug Advisory Committee, clearly stated, "Certainly, I think it's more challenging for us if we don't have set limits. If someone does have more than perhaps, let's use the 3 ounces, 12 ounces at home, we'd be forming the opinion that they have possession for the purpose of distributing that cannabis. But again, without having those limitations in place, it really puts more work on the police officers to prove knowledge, to prove the intent, because they are allowed to have as much cannabis they would like in a private dwelling. So putting some limitations or restrictions would make our job easier and would assist us. Again, one of the stated goals of this bill is to disrupt organized crime. We know there are over 300 organized crime groups involved in cannabis distribution and production. It's a $7 billion a year industry. This is a huge issue. Organized crime will just not walk away from this issue. So any tools we can be given in law enforcement to disrupt organized crime will be important to us. Like I said, when we're seeing cannabis coming from an illegal place and large volumes stored in a residence for distribution into the black market, we need some additional tools to assist us in disrupting that. Based on this testimony, colleagues, would we not want to ensure that law enforcement have all the tools they need within this bill to effectively stamp out the illicit market? Why would we not follow the advice and listen to the clear request from police chiefs throughout Canada to place a limit on the amount allowed in a dwelling place? Deputy Chief Sayre, referred to by the president of CACP as the expert, recommended a cap of 340 grams, since in his experience, that is the larger average yield size of 4 plants. So, honorable colleagues, for these reasons, I now move that Bill C-45 be not now read a third time, but that it be amended in Clause 8 on page 7 by replacing line 3 with the following, quote, possess cannabis of one or more, end quote, and B, by replacing line 6 with the following, to more than 30 grams of dried cannabis in a public place or to more than 340 grams of dried cannabis elsewhere. Thank you.
In amendment, it was moved by the Honourable Senator Patterson, seconded by the Honourable Senator Boisvenu, that Bill C-45 be not now read a third time, but that it be amended in Clause 8. May I dispense on debate? Were senators ready for the...
Senator Eggleton.
I have a number of senators rising to join debate. I have Senator Eggleton, Senatrice Dupuy, and Senator Pratt. Senator Eggleton.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the committee, the Social Affairs Committee, the Conservative caucus argued, how could we ever monitor number of plants? They were arguing against having any plants at all, you know, the 4 plants. And they said, how could we possibly monitor this? How are the police going to be able to do it? Now they're putting a proposal that's even more complicated in terms of how you could possibly monitor this situation, because the expert that we had in front of the committee, Professor Jonathan Page of the University of British Columbia, said yes, it would be 65 to 85 grams, perhaps on average. But some plants actually yield up to 200 grams. 4 plants, 200 grams? Wow, that's way over what you're suggesting they should be allowed to have. Now, you don't know the yield until after the harvest. So what do? You bring in the harvest police at that time to figure out how much it is? I don't think that this is something that we need to worry about in terms of the criminality of trying to market this stuff, traffic this stuff. I mean, alcohol, we don't put a limit on alcohol, the amount of alcohol that somebody has in the home, and it's a very dangerous drug as well, and has in fact caused an awful lot of damage and destruction in itself, but we leave it up to adults to work that out as to what is reasonable to do. So we put no limits on how much you can store in your home in terms of alcohol. But this one becomes, I think, very difficult, if not impossible, to actually police. And secondly, no, I'm not questioning. I'm on debate.
Excuse me, Senator Eggleton. Excuse me. It's a policy in this chamber that when the speaker sits, senators who are standing will take the seats. Senator Platt, Senator Eggleton is on debate. He's not asking a question of Senator Patterson. Okay. Senator Eggleton.
I accept your apology, Senator Flint. Thank you very much.
Mark it down.
Anyway, this is just not possible to police. And then what would you do if you were over the limit? How would you then dispose of it? Is still another question. You know what the police? Well, I don't want that to happen any more than you do, but you know what the police have been able to do in past is find the grow-ops, because they drain a lot of electricity, they drain a lot of water. Those kind of illegal operations, the police have figured out ways of being able to detect them, ways of being able to police those kind of operations. But this I think, is not what this one is about. This one is about somebody that happens to grow a little bit more than what they should, and if you put this 340 gram limit on it, then you're going to have some people that are going to end up harvesting more than that because they might have a particularly productive plant, and it goes over the limit. I don't think that that's what we need here at all. I think the provisions in this bill are quite fine the way they are, so I will not be supporting the amendment.
Question? Okay, would you take a question, Senator Eggleton?
Sure.
Senator White, question.
Because there is, I think you would agree, there is one difference with alcohol in that you're not limited as to how much alcohol you go buy. But you are limited today under C-45, if it passes as is, to 4 plants. So really, we should at least have a discussion, don't you agree, about how much yield you would get from 4 plants, because that is the difference when we compare to alcohol. You're right, you can't limit somebody as to how much they have in their house. But the truth is, we are already limiting people, telling them 4 plants only. And if you're allowed 4 plants, then there needs to be a measured amount of dry cannabis. And 340 grams, from speaking to experts, is about what you should anticipate to be able to yield from 4 plants. So wouldn't you agree that there is a difference between alcohol and marijuana, or cannabis?
Senator Eggleton.
Certainly how you count it, there is a difference. But I think the principle here is that we allow adults to make their own decisions about what is in fact a reasonable quantity to have for their own personal use within their home. We do that in alcohol, and I think it's reasonable to do it in this case. You know, if people go overboard, if they're starting to produce it for trafficking purpose, they're getting into the realm of the grow-up, and that's illegal, and it should be clamped down on.
Sarah White.
Look, and I understand that concern, but I'll tell you, the adults that we will be concerned with are the Hells Angels and other organized crime who will be stockpiling marijuana and cannabis product for the distribution. If you had 200 pounds of cannabis in your residence, I mean, we need to have a limitation, I would argue, that actually goes in line with what the legislation is meant to do, is recreational cannabis use. And I don't think 340 grams, we're talking about 450 joints, I think is more than enough for most of the people I know.
Senator Eggleton.
Don't you agree?
Afraid not. Sorry. Afraid not. I do appreciate the point you're making, though. I think here, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. I think it is more difficult, far more difficult to deal with this. And look, we're dealing with home cultivation. Home cultivation is intended for personal use. It's not intended for distribution. That is illegal. Trafficking is illegal under this bill, as it's always been illegal and will continue to be. And if the Hells Angels want to stash a lot of it for purposes of distribution, in go the police and stop that.
Senator White.
How much time the honourable member has. And I understand that perfectly. I guess I'm trying to get to the point of what is the number? Do you have a number for us? And if you do, throw it out. Is it 500 grams? Is it a kilo? Is it 5 kilos? At least if we have a number, because really, you're saying now it's unlimited.
Senator Eggleton.
And I don't understand why this is being raised now. I think the legislation covers this. This was not raised at committee. This matter, the only argument that was made at committee was over whether there should be 4 plants or no plants. We ultimately decided that the province should have that right to be able to determine whether it's no plants at all. Right now, before our amendment that came from the committee, it could be 4, 3, 2, 1, but it couldn't be 0. But now it can be zero because in Quebec and Manitoba want it to be zero. But there was never any discussion about this particular factor, and I think the legislation quite handles it. Well, you should have brought it up at committee.
Senatrice Dupuy.
Une question pour le sénateur Eggleton.
A question for Senator Eggleton, please. Your time is up. Would you like to speak? Yes, I will speak. I will speak to see that I don't understand the text of the amendment tabled before us currently, and I don't have the time to study it. I have a problem with the way it is drafted, with the 340 grams that an individual could possess anywhere other than a public place, from what I understood of the amendment before us. Concerning the section that sets out that someone cannot grow more than 4 plants in their home. So in the section on cultivation and production, you can't have more than 4 plants. But in section 8A, it's being proposed. It's like there's a contradiction or a cohesiveness problem with Section 8E, and I don't understand how it would be operationalized. A number of individuals could have a total of 340 grams and be in a private place. Does that resolve the issue of police officers? It's not just a number. The number needs to be not completely artificial and multiplied by the number of people found in a given place, an enclosed place, a private place. In other words, I think that the amendment, I doubt that it's well drafted, and I think that we don't have time to look into it, so I will vote against this. Senator Pratt.
To follow up on Senator Dupuy, because I've been concerned with this issue, the lack of a limit on dried cannabis in a dwelling house for quite a while. So I expected this amendment, and I'm rather favorable to it, except the wording is not what I expected. I expected that there would be a limit of no more than a number, whatever that number is, of dried cannabis in their dwelling house. That's what I was expecting. And now I see that it's to no more than 340 grams of dried cannabis elsewhere, or à tout autre endroit en français, in French. And frankly, the way I understand it is what it means is that, for instance, you could be at a friend's home and you would have a right to have 340 grams, and that friend and other friends, each of those people would each have the right to have 340 grams. But that's not the intention of the amendment. As I heard Senator Patterson, the intention of the amendment is that in your house, you would have the right to have 340 grams. But that's not what the amendment says. The amendment says that elsewhere, anywhere else than in a public place, you can have 340 grams. So there's a drafting problem, unless I misunderstand, but elsewhere seems to be a lot of other places, and I'm not sure this really addresses. And again, I'm favorable to the idea of a limit in a dwelling house, but unfortunately, that's not what the amendment says, unless someone in the debate can reassure me that the wording here is not what I think I understand the amendment to say. Thank you.
Senator McIntyre on debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Senator Pratt, I hope I'll be able to answer your question. Honourable Senators, I rise today in support of Senator Patterson's amendment to limit the possession of dried cannabis in a dwelling house. The Standing Committee on Legal and Constitutional Affairs, of which I am a member, made a unanimous recommendation to limit the possession of dried cannabis in a dwelling house. This unanimous recommendation was an observation adopted at the Social Affairs Committee study of Bill C-45 on May 28, 2018. The Legal Affairs Committee heard evidence that the lack of a limit on the possession of dried cannabis in a home might prevent law enforcement agencies from identifying an illegal cannabis operation. I support the recommendation of the Standing Senate Committee on Legal and Constitutional Affairs to amend the bill to impose a limit on the quantity of dried cannabis or its equivalent that an individual is allowed to possess for personal use in a dwelling house. The Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police advocated for the prohibition of home cultivation given the difficulty of enforcing 4 plants in a dwelling house. There were also concerns raised with the lack of a limit for dried cannabis in a dwelling house. Mike Sir, SCRR, Deputy Chief Constable, Drug Advisory Committee, Canadian Chiefs of Police, stated that there needs to be a limit for what can be possessed in a dwelling house in order to prevent diversion to the illicit market. He suggested that on the high side, 4 cannabis plants will produce 12 ounces of cannabis, which is 340 grams, 1 to 3 ounces per plant. Quebec has introduced legislation which sets the limit for what can be stored in a dwelling house for dried cannabis at 150 grams. This would be ideal. However, since some provinces have not opted to prohibit home cultivation of cannabis plants, there needs to be a limit based on how much 4 cannabis plants produce. For this reason, the proposed amendment would suggest a limit of 340 grams based on witness testimony from the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. Mike Sir, Deputy Chief Constable. The position is to prohibit home cultivation, and that Quebec has gotten it right by prohibiting home cultivation and proposing a limit of 150 grams. At the same time, the government needs to set a reasonable limit for the maximum 4 plants produced, giving police forces the necessary tools to prevent the diversion of illicit cannabis. It is imperative that every possible step be taken to prevent organized crime from taking advantage of either home grow or the storage of marijuana in private residences. Colleagues, I will end on this note. Senator Patterson in his speech cited Mike Sir, the Deputy Chief, and I will just repeat a couple of lines of that citation. And here's what the Chief Constable had to say. He said, but again, without having those limitations in place, it really puts more work on the police officers to provide knowledge, to provide the intent, because they are allowed to have as much cannabis as they would like in a private dwelling. Colleagues, the constable uses the words knowledge and the words intent, and these are very important. And they are important because in a criminal trial, the onus of proof is on the Crown. It has to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. For example, if the police officers walk in a dwelling house and they see a large amount of cannabis, okay, they have to prove either possession, okay, beyond a reasonable doubt, or possession for the purpose of trafficking on a reasonable doubt, or trafficking beyond a reasonable doubt. So there's a heavy onus on the Crown here. And this is why the constable is using the words, this is why he's, again, to prove knowledge, to prove the intent, because they are allowed to have as much cannabis as they would like to have in a private dwelling. So let's protect society here, and let's give the police forces the tools to work with. Thank you.
Senator Boniface.
I'm wondering if the senator would take a question.
Yes, I would.
Senator, I appreciate your comments, and as you know, I'm a member of the Legal and Constitutional Committee. I think what we're trying to narrow down here is the definition, and the definition, as I read it in the amendment, says elsewhere. So I'm wondering if you can give me an understanding of what elsewhere is. If you had within the proposed amendment private dwelling or residence or something that I could have a better or clear understanding, I think it would make more sense. So I'm just asking you somewhere if you can give me a sense of what elsewhere the definition is, and in turn where we would use elsewhere in other parts of the criminal code.
Senator McIntyre.
I don't have the exact definition of what you're looking at. You're looking for, Senator, but as you know, we've heard a lot of witnesses in March of this year, and one of the witnesses that we heard was John Dickey, who's the president of the Canadian Federation of Apartment Associations. Actually, he testified on April 29th. And here's what Mr. Dickey had to say. A substantial amount of cannabis can be harvested from a single plant of less than 1 meter in height. This site describes the, and I quote, screen of green technique, and I quote, called SCROG, S-C-R-O-G, in which a grower takes a plant, puts a chicken wire mesh about it, and cuts off the top. Then the plant sprouts widely. So from one plant, you could be covering an area a yard or more wide as well as deep, and you could grow considerable marijuana with that technique. The site suggests a single plant can yield up to a pound, 500 grams, of dried cannabis. Given 2 or 3 months for a plant to be ready for harvesting, that would allow 4 or 6 crops a year. That would enable someone to grow 16 to 24 pounds of cannabis per year, which is substantially more than anyone would ever use personally. There are also issues with respect to drying it in ovens, which again adds to power drop. These things lead to potential electric problems and fire safety problems. That's the best, and of course, that's the best statement I can give you.
Face.
Yes, if I could just as a follow-up and fairly quickly, I understand on the 4 plants. I was actually one of the people who voted against having big grow. The point I'm trying to get to, because I'm very sympathetic to this, as you would expect, given my background, what I'm trying to get is within the wording of the motion, it uses the word elsewhere. It doesn't use in a dwelling house or terminology that I would be familiar with from the criminal code. So I'm wondering if elsewhere is, sorry, I missed the answer. Thank you. I'm just one.
Perhaps, Senator, we could have some amendment on that issue if you have one.
Umeedwar, did you want to enter debate or ask a question?
Thank you. I was following up on Senator Boniface's question. I didn't hear the answer to elsewhere, and that little phrase after, the little word after dried cannabis, comma, elsewhere. It's not a public place. So where else is this? Can you help us out with this a little bit more clearly?
Senator Mac.
Didn't get your question properly. I'm sorry.
Question as Senator Boniface asked you, which is, what does elsewhere mean?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's not my my amendment. You know, I was asked to speak in support of it, and I'm proud to do that. To me, we're talking here about a dwelling house, okay? And when you're talking a structure, you're talking about you could be talking about a house, you could be talking about an apartment. But my understanding is that it's the structure itself. It's the dwelling house.
Are senators ready for the question? Senator Wu, did you on debate?
Yes, just in the spirit of my previous intervention, thinking out loud again and looking at this amendment and wondering about unintended consequences, I want to share with you some of my conflicting thoughts. I understand the intent of the amendment, which is to provide police with a way in which they don't have to divine intent. They can simply go into an elsewhere place, whatever that may be. Let's call it a dwelling for the sake of argument. And if they see that there's in fact more than 340 grams, they've got a basis to take some action. Implicitly, by putting forward that idea, what we are saying is that we are not actually concerned about possession. We're concerned about trafficking. We're concerned about illicit use of cannabis. But by solving one problem, which is to help police have a simple decision rule to go in and, take action, you create another problem, which is that you could well have lots and lots of people inadvertently having more than 340 grams, maybe even 1,000 grams, maybe 1 kilogram, who have no intention of trafficking and who will then find themselves vulnerable to, I think, criminal prosecution. And then all the problems of discrimination and prejudice will come about again. And I just fear, again, that we may be rushing into an amendment without sufficient thought, without sufficient expert testimony, with a lot of ambiguity, first of all, on the term elsewhere, but even more concerning, the possibility that there could be unintended consequences where many, many individuals inadvertently storing more than 340 grams will be prosecuted simply because they had more than 340 grams. Thank you.
Senators ready for the question? It was moved by the Honourable Senator Patterson, seconded by the Honourable Senator Boisvenu, that bill, I'm sorry, on debate? Yes. Senator White spoken, yes?
You know.
Oh, you have a question?
On debate, if I may.
Senator-
I haven't spoken on debate. I would like to move a sub-amendment to the amendment that's been presented. If I may, changing the word elsewhere to a dwelling house. C'est une maison, s'il vous plaît.
It was moved by the Honourable Senator White, seconded by the Honourable Senator Boisvenu. We don't have that in there. That the amendment be further amended by changing the word elsewhere to dwelling house. Ou en français. Maison. Ah oui. Maison. Are senators ready for the question? It was moved by the Honourable Senator White, seconded by the Honourable Senator Doyle, that the amendment be further amended by changing the word elsewhere to dwelling house. Is it your pleasure, Honourable Senators, to adopt the motion? All those in favour of the motion will please say yea. Yea. All those opposed, nay. Nay. In my opinion, the nays have it. I see two senators rising. There will be a 15-minute bell on the sub-amendment that will take place. How long? The vote will take place at 6:28. Calling the senators.
Test, 1, 2. Yeah. Oh, did he look? Did he see? Okay, test, 1, 2.
Au noir, Black Rod. Honourable Senators, before putting the question, and for future reference, no amendment or sub-amendment will be accepted unless it is submitted in writing dans les deux langues officielles. The question is as follows. It was moved by the Honourable Senator White, seconded by the Honourable Senator Doyle, that the motion and amendment be not now adopted, but that it be amended by replacing the word elsewhere with the words dwelling house. All those in favour of the motion will please rise.
The Honourable Senator Smith, l'Honourable Senator Carignan CP, the Honourable Senator Andrzejczak, the Honourable Senator Tkachuk, the Honourable Senator MacDonald, l'Honourable Senator Mockler, the Honourable Senator Neufeld, the Honourable Senator Martin, l'Honourable Senator Houssakos, the Honourable Senator Seidman, the Honourable Senator Griffin, the Honourable Senator Stuart Olson, the Honourable Senator Patterson, the Honourable l'Honourable Senator Boisvenu, the Honourable Senator Marshall, l'Honourable Sénatrice Poirier, the Honourable Senator Atulajan, the Honourable Senator Wells, the Honourable Senator Plett, the Honourable Senator Bayak, the Honourable Senator Doyle, l'Honourable Senator Malte, the Honourable Senator White, the Honourable Senator No, the Honourable Senator McGuinness, l'Honourable Senator McIntyre, l'Honourable Senator Dagenet, the Honourable Senator O, the Honourable Senator Batters, the Honourable Senator Tanis, l'Honourable Sénatrice Werner CP, the Honourable Senator Wallen.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
The Honourable Senator Harder PC, l'Honourable Senator Joyal CP, the Honourable Senator Day, the Honourable Senator Cools, l'Honourable Sénatrice Rangat, l'Honourable Sénatrice Bellemare, l'Honourable Sénatrice Petitclerc, the Honourable Senator Lankin PC, the Honourable Senator Wu, l'Honourable Sénatrice Saint-Germain, the Honourable Senator Campbell, the Honourable Senator Hartling, the Honourable Senator Boyer, the Honourable Senator Down, the Honourable Senator Jaffer, the Honourable Senator Cordy, the Honourable Senator Eggleton PC, the Honourable Senator Mercer, the Honourable Senator Bovey, the Honourable Senator McFedrin, the Honourable Senator Black Alberta, the Honourable Senator Mitchell, l'Honourable Sénatrice Gagné, The Honourable Senator Omidvar. The Honourable Senator Gold. L'Honorable Sénatrice Mention. The Honourable Senator Pate. L'Honorable Senator Cormier. The Honourable Senator Marwa. The Honourable Senator Wetston. L'Honorable Senator Dawson. The Honourable Senator Lovelace Nicholas. The Honourable Senator Dick. The Honourable Senator Green. The Honourable Senator McCullum. The Honourable Senator Coyle. L'Honorable Senator Pratt. The Honourable Senator Duffy. The Honourable Senator Dean. L'Honorable Sénatrice Dupuis. The Honourable Senator Ravalia. L'Honorable Sénatrice Meji. The Honourable Senator Black, Ontario. The Honourable Senator Christmas.
All those who wish to abstain will please rise.
The Honourable Senator Boniface. The Honourable Senator Deakin. The Honourable Senator Richards. The Honourable Senator Bernard. L'Honorable Sénatrice Galvez.
Yeas pour 32, 32. Nays contre 44, 44. Abstentions, abstention 5, 5.
Accordingly, the motion is defeated. Are senators ready for the question on the amendment? Senator Platt.
Yes, Speaker, and I know that we will have a voice vote first, but I'm just wondering, with leave, and if we would have unanimous consent after the voice vote, would it be possible for us to immediately go to the vote since we're all here, instead of having another 15-minute bell?
We have a, obviously, we have an agreement. We have an agreement for a 15-minute bell, but Senator Platt, if there is leave from the Senate, we will conduct the standing vote immediately after the voice vote. Is that agreed, honourable senators? Agreed. It is moved by the Honourable Senator Patterson, seconded by the Honourable Senator Boisvenu, that Bill C-45 be not now read a third time, but that it be amended in Clause 8. May I dispense? It's your pleasure, honourable senators, to adopt the motion. Yay. All those in favour will please say yea. Yay. All those opposed, nay. Yay. In my opinion, the nays have it. I see two senators rising. I see two senators rising. We will go to a standing vote immediately. All those in favour of the motion will please rise.
The Honourable Senator Smith. L'Honorable Senator Carignan CP. The Honourable Senator Andrzejczyk. The Honourable Senator Tkachuk. The Honourable Senator MacDonald. L'Honorable Senator Muckler. The Honourable Senator Neufeld. The Honourable Senator Marshall. Martin. L'Honorable Senator Rousakos. The Honourable Senator Seidman. The Honourable Senator Stewart Olson. The Honourable Senator Patterson. L'Honorable Senator Boisvenu. The Honourable Senator Marshall. L'Honorable Sénatrice Poirier. The Honourable Senator Atulajan. The Honourable Senator Wells. The Honourable Senator Platt. The Honourable Senator Bayak. The Honourable Senator Doyle. L'Honourable Senator Malte. The Honourable Senator White. The Honourable Senator No. The Honourable Senator McGuinness. L'Honourable Senator McIntyre. L'Honourable Senator Dagenet. The Honourable Senator O. The Honourable Senator Batters. The Honourable Senator Tanis.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
The Honourable Senator Harder PC. L'Honourable Senator Joyal CP. The Honourable Senator Day. The Honourable Senator Cools. L'Honourable Sénatrice Ranguette. L'Honourable Sénatrice Bellemare. L'Honourable Sénatrice Petitclerc. The Honourable Senator Lankin PC. The Honourable Senator Wu. L'Honourable Sénatrice Saint-Germain. The Honourable Senator Campbell. The Honourable Senator Hartling. The Honourable Senator Boyer. The Honourable Senator Down. The Honourable Senator Jaffer. The Honourable Senator Cordy. The Honourable Senator Eggleton PC. The Honourable Senator Mercer. The Honourable Senator Bovey. The Honourable Senator McFedrin. The Honourable Senator Black Alberta. The Honourable Senator Mitchell. L'Honourable Sénatrice Gagné. The Honourable Senator Omidvar. The Honourable Senator Gold. L'Honourable Sénatrice Mention. The Honourable Senator Pate. L'Honourable Senator Cormier. The Honourable Senator Marwa. The Honourable Senator Whetstone. L'Honourable Senator Dawson. The Honourable Senator Lovelace Nicholas. The Honourable Senator Dick. The Honourable Senator McCullum. The Honourable Senator Coyle. L'Honourable Senator Pratt. The Honourable Senator Boniface. The Honourable Senator Deakin. The Honourable Senator Duffy. The Honourable Senator Dean. L'Honourable Sénatrice Dupuis. L'Honourable Sénatrice Galvez. The Honourable Senator Rivalia. L'Honourable Sénatrice Miji. The Honourable Senator Black, Ontario. The Honourable Senator Christmas.
All those who wish to abstain will please rise.
L'Honourable Sénatrice Vernel CP. The Honourable Senator Green. The Honourable Senator Wallen. The Honourable Senator Richards. The Honourable Senator Griffin. The Honourable Senator Bernard.
Yeas pour 29-29, nays contre 46-46, abstentions, abstention 6-6.
Accordingly, the motion is defeated.